Well, you are with Radio 3, of course, 90 to 93 FM, digital radio online, just about everywhere, wherever you are. Stay with us, and I hope you'll have a wondrous weekend. You will enjoy my next guests. They're on their way to Hastings, not to take the sea air, though doubtless it would be good for the lungs, to perform in the Victorian grandeur Fairlight Hall. It's Oxford Leader on Tour. Sholta Kainach, Artistic Director, is here. He's already seated at the piano. We'll be meeting him in a moment. And with this time, the young soprano Anna Cavaliero, who is a City Music Foundation artist. Lovely to have you. What does that mean, by the way?
City Music Foundation artist. Well, I'm very lucky to be part of a group of singers and instrumentalists looked after by this organisation, and we're all emerging artists, so they help us with things like how to make sure that we do our taxes correctly, and also how to make connections in the concert world. So these wonderful concerts I'm doing with Sholto are through them.
Wonderful. Well, that's the best way. Let everybody hear you. You must be nearly out of the chrysalis by now, I think, mustn't you?
I think, yes, sort of emerging.
Because you've been polished off in Salzburg. I mean, polished, yes. I should say, not polished off. But,
I was very lucky to study with Barbara Bonney in Salzburg. And we would go to her dress shop to have lessons. She's got a wonderfully named shop called Bonnie and Clyde. And we would have our lessons in the shop window where she has a grand piano surrounded by ball gowns covered in bows. And it was, quite special.
Well, that's theatrical. Certainly preparing you for an audience.
Yes,
you get lots of people who do the Salzburgers just walk on past with their noses in the air.
It was slightly out of my price range, the shop. So I think it didn't have sort of customers flowing in all the time, enticed by our music making, unfortunately.
I'm sure they just swept past in their Loudon outfits and just thought, who are those wonderful people? Anyway, you're heading for Hastings. You're going to sing Britain First, Setting of Auden. These are extraordinary poems, first of all. I mean, there's a quote somewhere from Lord Harwood, great sort of figure at the time, saying Britain's vital impulse and sympathy is for the struggle of the human being against the mass. So they're all very individual, these. Which one are you going to sing for us?
Oh, well, we're going to sing probably the lightest of the cycle, Seascape, which comes right in the middle. And yes, it just sort of is a bit of a glimmer of hope. It takes W.H. Auden's beautiful text and sets a very vivid portrait of a coastal landscape.
Which is where you're going.
Indeed,
how appropriate.
yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Look, stranger, at this island now. The leaping light for your delight discovers. Stand still here and silent be, that through the channels of the ear may wander like a river the swaying sound of the sea. Field's ending pause, where the tranquil falls to the foam, and its tall edges oppose the pluck and knock of the tide, and the shingle scrambles of the cycling surf, and the gull lodges a moment on its shale side. Like floating seeds, the ships divert on urgent voluntary errands, and the full view indeed may enter and move in memories now these clouds do that pass the harbour mirror and all the summer the water saunter, through the water saunter.
Thank you from Britain's On This Island. That was Seascape, setting of W.H. Auden and Cavaliero and Sholto Kynoch, who soon will be gambling in the waves down in Hastings, if there are many waves this time of the year. Very nice to have you with us. And it's Sholto as the begetter of Oxford Leader. It's sort of Oxford Leader on tour, or extending the empire.
That's right. So the festival each October remains very much our focus, but now we are expanding our spring season as well. And we're on tour. We have a new partnership in Birmingham, a new partnership shortly to be announced with Cedars Hall down in Wells, and also this series down at Fairlight Hall, which we run in tandem in Oxford. So they also take place at Wolfson College, but also in this beautiful 80-seat recital hall down at Fairlight Hall.
It looks very beautiful. I'm just sort of looking it up. It's a Victorian castle on this sort of peninsula there.
That's right. Yeah, with these wonderful views down to the sea, and this beautiful, very intimate space, and very, very good cake after the concert as well.
Don't be having any before, Andy. That's very, very bad for the voice. Do you have lots of rules about warming up and everything?
I try not to have too many rules like that, and I probably won't have too much wine at the dinner the night before, but because it is an 11 a.m. concert.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, that's
Save that for afterwards.
Anyway, you're clear as a bell, and of course not surprising because you were actually the famous Trinity Choir at Cambridge, weren't you?
I was. Yes.
I mean, that's quite a training for any singer, isn't it?
Oh, certainly it was. Yeah, I learnt so much from being in that choir, and I really owe a lot of what I feel as a musician to kind of have
your fame.
Oh yes,
your fame.
No, I had a very formative time there, but
Well, Royal College Music then with Darthaven Salzburg and the shop window, Miss Bonnie looking at dresses, Britton Pears, young artist, which of course helps as well. Where do you find everybody, Sholto? Are you like a sort of football scout going around looking for talent?
I wish I spent even more time at live performances than I do, but I do try and go to as much as I can. I obviously look out for competition winners. I have various people I trust. If they recommend young singers, then I know that there'll be someone to really look out for. And organisations like the City Music Foundation and, of course, various competitions and the like that we promote at the festival as well. So just always keeping an ear to the ground for who the exciting new singers are coming up.
What else is on the horizon for you, and what are you hoping for? Matters operatic or not?
Yes,
because I know you made your debut at the age of 8 as Maria in The Sound of Music.
Oh yes, that is true, and probably was still and would still be my dream role should it occur again. No, well, Salzburg, the hills are indeed alive. But no, I have various recitals coming up. My next concert is at Handel House because I'm also on the Handel House talent scheme. So I've got a Baroque recital and then off to Scotland to do some covering with Scottish Opera on their tour of Gilbert and Sullivan.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, you've got to keep the palette wide.
Yes, certainly.
You've got to keep the humour and the elasticity in the voice. It's Mr. Corngold next. Yes?
That's right. Slightly earlier, we're back to 1920 and Corngold is looking back in these songs of farewell, and this is the last of these songs of farewell, looking back on the First World War, of course, in the sense of lost numerous family members, but also the woman that he was in love with, who was later to be his wife, but slightly reminiscent perhaps of Robert and Clara Schumann. The families disapproved, and they were blocked from seeing each other. So at this time, 4 years before their marriage, he was still nervous that this was a genuine farewell, even though it definitely sounds a note of optimism as well.
Yes, Gefaster Abschied to resigned farewell. So he's
controlled is one.
Controlled. Okay.
Sort of controlled as in calm and in control.
composed.
Yeah.
Okay, in control. Yeah. Okay. Well, he's putting up with it. I thought he'd show a bit more fight, but anyway, that's fine. That's fine. You will show that. So he's saying, "Don't weep, I'm going, but I shall find you again." So there's optimism. There's a bit of optimism.
Very much so.
Good. What a relief. Thank you very much.
Weine nicht, dass ich jetzt gehe. Heute lass dich von mir küssen. Blüht das Glück nicht aus der Nähe. Von ferne wird dich keuscher grüßen. Traue, die dich drückte, Herzensblume kann nicht welken. Lächle nicht mit bittem Lächeln, stoße mich nicht stumm zur Seite. Linde Luft wird bald dich wieder fächeln. Bald, bald ist Liebe dein Geleite. Gib deine Hand mir ohne Zittern. Letzten Kuss gib alle Wonne. Bang vor Sturm nicht, aus Gewittern geht strahlende auf die Sonne. So schaut zuletzt noch die schöne Linde, drunter uns kein Auge je spähte. Glaub, oh glaub, dass ich dich werde finden. Den ernten wird, wenn Liebe lächelnd säte.
You will find them, don't worry. From Songs of Farewell by Korngold and the Cavaliero and Sholto Cannock live in the studio. Well, they're going to come back, take us to France for the end of the programme. But just a reminder, they're at Fairlight Hall at Hastings this Sunday at 11 a.m. and cake afterwards, by the sound of it. Wolfram College, Oxford, then the following Thursday. Isn't that right, Sholto? Yeah, thank you. Well, meanwhile, down at Fairlight Hall at Hastings in East Sussex, there's the Sea washes gently against the Victorian grandeur, and the Cavaliero and Sholto Cannock will be entertaining everyone on Sunday morning to Leader and Cake. So very, very nice. What's the perfect recital then, do you think, for us for a morning recital?
This one.
Without this
Nothing like some Bartók and Korngold
Yeah.
and Walton and Britten to start your Sunday morning. But actually, it's some of the composers. The combination perhaps sounds more sort of on the edge than it is for some people, I think. And in
Yeah.
fact, there's a lot of kind of cabaret and folk influence in this program. Some of which you've heard already, and more as well that we'll be doing in a moment.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's, I think, a wonderful way to...
But I mean, I said you're taking us to France, and you are taking us to Mr. Francis Poulenc. And I mean, the demarcation lines were not very serious then. I mean, people swung from cabaret to serious, and they went from music hall to the opera. You know, it wasn't all this sort of demarcation, was there?
Yes, certainly. And this song was written for Yvain Printemps, who was a cabaret singer and apparently started her career at the Folies Bergère, age 13.
Beat that then.
Yeah.
I think that slightly
good.
beats you being Maria in the Sound of Music at 8.
Oh, really?
Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. But it is absolutely charming. It was incidental music for Ennui's play Les Arcadières. I don't know where it comes, but anyway, it's all about the paths that lead to the sea. Oh dear, no trace left of my heart. So it's a little bit triste, isn't it?
It is, but there's certainly a light side to it which comes forward especially in the chorus.
Yes, Abigail Washburn's back to listen to you, which is very nice. She came back in case I pinched her banjo. She did a wonderful sort of rather sad song earlier, so we're getting our own back on, you know. We're going to have a little sad French song. She's nodding sagely. That's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. So Anna Cavaliero and Sholto Kainach and Poulencs, Les Chemins de l'Amour.